right. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Low Code Cafe, number 84 for March 16th. I'm Dale Warner. I'm your host today. I'm also the head of support for Plantain App. Today, we're going to be demonstrating the techniques you can use to migrate your sites to Bootstrap 5. And so we hope we're providing timely information as we get into the next versions that require that. We'll also cover a little bit of know-how on some changes, some exciting things that are coming up for Plantain App. So with that, let me just go over our agenda. This is just something, this event, Low Code Cafe, is one that we do every Wednesday, 10 Central, and it's intended to be a technical community webinar. And we hope that you'll provide feedback and let us know how we're doing, but also what you'd like to see in future episodes. And we are always on the lookout. We've had several episodes where we've had guest speakers, and those have been particularly popular episodes. So if you have something that you think is important to share with the community, please get in touch. All of these are recorded, and so we have a ton of episodes already out on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/plantainapp. There's the QR code for the link to that, but that's also in the email communications that we send you when we invite you to this webinar. If you haven't already, we encourage you to subscribe, but also to hit the alarm bell so that you know when we post new content. Today, it's the Dale Warner Show. We're going to be doing the from the trenches segment, talking about some things that we're seeing in support, and then we'll go right on into the hands-on low-code development. Patrick Anderson is also on board with me, and Patrick, good morning. We try not to do the Low-Code Cafe all by ourselves because sometimes we run into problems, and so we need somebody else to talk while we're trying to recover and figure out. Good morning.
Good morning.
There are no product roadmap updates today. We had mentioned last time that we're still working to try and figure out the correct release date. I think the target is March 28th, but that could slip a little bit, and so when we next we will advise you as we know more about that. The major thing is Bootstrap 5, and we'll be talking, that's really the focus of what we're going to talk about today. So with that, we'll move into our From the Trenches segment, and we always talk about hot fixes. It turns out that this week, previously there were 8, and we've released no new ones this week. So I guess that's probably a clue that things have stabilized a great deal for version 119, although I know that we'll probably have more, just in response to some tickets that are going on right now. I know that by next week there'll be at least one that will be listed here, so we'll talk about that. One of the things that's going on with our next release, so we're currently at version 1.19. When we go to version 1.20, the minimum requirement for DNN increases from 9.6 to 9.9. And so with that, everybody who's using the community version of DNN, that's going to be available now to you as a one-click upgrade if you want to use it. And so I'll show you a little bit about what that's going to look like. This is a little preview into features that are coming to make this upgrade easier. This is really important, not just for you. I mean, it's important for us as well, because we have a number of systems, and that upgrade to DNN is certainly just something that's difficult to get accomplished. So making that available as a one-click upgrade is going to save us all time and effort. So of course, we'll talk about practices the best practices as that comes up, like backups and scheduling that, because anytime an upgrade is going on, things can go wrong, or you might need to test. But we're going to make that process as easy for you as possible. And so that will actually come out as a hotfix. The product does not currently do that, but we want to make sure it's available for you as a hotfix in version 1.19 so that you can apply it and get the minimum up to 9.9 before you advance to our Plantain app version 1.20. So trying to make that process as easy as possible. So that's going to be for Plantain app clients on the community. That's as easy as possible. If you're using Evoke, we are unable to apply that for you. So you'll still have to upgrade that manually before you go to 1.20. For our action form and search boost clients, and you don't have that available. So you'll need to upgrade that, upgrade DNN before going to the 5.20 version of the products. And version 5.19 was the last release of all of our other products publicly, so this update, this information doesn't apply. So the automatic upgrade, I found some screenshots in our documentation. It's going to look something like this on our updates screen. It's going to show you what the current platform version is. So in this case, it was 9.8.1, and that the recommended update step is to 9.9.1. And that the latest is 9.10.2. So the one-click upgrade will take you through to the next recommended upgrade spot. And so, for example, after you click this button and it was applied, you'd see something like this, where the current version is now 9.9.1, and you could use it again then to step up to 9.10.2 if you like, and then it's telling you the latest is 9.10.2. Once you update to the latest version, this button will go away. So that will hopefully make that as simple as possible for our community DNN users. And then the Evoke users will see the button, but it's going to say something like this, that it's not compatible and that you'll have to update Evoke manually. Great. So low-code cafe, our plan next week, just a little teaser that we're going to be talking more about the new features in 1.20. So make sure you tune in for that one. And a promo for Campfire. This is this event we do for the community, and it's more of a discussion than a webinar. It's technical in content and is really a great opportunity. So, and I guarantee you, we learn as much from you as you learn from us in that meeting. So Friday is the same hour. And with that, we'll move on to hands-on low coding. I am going to stop and take just a minute to post some things on the chat window and the links for today. Let me find those and post them. And some of them are going to be fun, right? This is a little bit technical, but some of them we'll have a little fun with this here. So great, those are posted. So here we go. So the first, this is all about Bootstrap 5 and migration from Bootstrap 3 to Bootstrap 5. And I thought it'd be just useful to say, well, hey, why are we doing this? So Bootstrap 3 is 10 or more years old. There was a major rewrite in 2020 and 2021. And as a result, it solves a lot of problems over the existing Bootstrap 3 that we're using. It has a modern look, uses modern CSS techniques. It's easier to find developers who want to work in Bootstrap 5 because there's not a lot of interest in working on older technologies. So that's a benefit. There are pre-built templates that are maintained for Bootstrap 5. There are theme builders that are maintained, and that there are more modern libraries that use it as a foundation or that integrate with it. So these things taken together were the reason why we undertook to move to Bootstrap 5 and to move away from Bootstrap 3. So where are we in the process? Our current version is of Plantain app is version 19, and as those of you who have installed it, and as we've been talking about here on the Café, that's an experimental version, meaning we're halfway through the process. And if you've used it all, you've probably bumped into some things that it doesn't have and some difficulties. We're currently working on version 1.20, the next version that will be released to you in, we're talking end of March, early April. And that's, at that point, Bootstrap 5 is going to be fully available, and that will be the default. The key concept that you need to know is that Bootstrap 5 has to be loaded by the theme in Bootstrap. In previous versions, 1.19 and earlier, we took it for the products to load the Bootstrap 3 version for you. It load this is an external library that gets loaded, and once you go to Bootstrap 5, the theme has to do it. So that's just a key concept you need to bear in mind. And so now a couple of strategies, and this is information that this is the Dale Warner opinion, right? Not necessarily the official Plantain App lines, but I wanted to. There's really three possibilities that come in. You can stick with Bootstrap 3, even though you install version 119, 120. These the existing Bootstrap 3 that you have should operate just the same as it has in the past, and so you can stay current on the software even if you don't jump into Bootstrap 5 right away. So that could be the wait and see method. The mixed Bootstrap 3, Bootstrap 5 is what I'm recommending, that you can install the software and use Bootstrap 5 in a limited way, and we'll talk about how to go about that. And of course, you could jump all the way in. You can just go Bootstrap 5 and all the way, but it takes an effort to convert your pages. If you have an existing site, convert your pages from Bootstrap 3 to Bootstrap 5. So jump in, make it work, make it happen. And if you have things that you need to do that are not possible currently in Bootstrap 3, well, that might be the path for you. So those are some strategies. Some best practices that you should be aware of. We need to, you're going to have to find a Bootstrap 5 theme from, for example, the DNN store. You could have a custom built, or you can use the page builder theme that we ship with the product. Page builder theme has a Bootstrap 5 option in it. We'll be looking at that more today. And then I just want to point out, if you have an existing application works, you're going to have to test that thoroughly. If you look under the covers, it sounds easy to say going from Bootstrap 3 to Bootstrap 5, but the reality is that every control, every form field, lots of our content was migrated, rewritten, or touched in some way. So testing is going to be important for you if you have an existing application. We'll show you today how to flip that to Bootstrap 5. You can test it. You can find what works. If there's problems, you can let us know. And then you can revert back to Bootstrap 3, or if you're doing it now we're kind of talking about testing safely. You can use a clone of your site. So, and if you're hosted with us, there's ability to create a clone quite easily. But if you use a clone, you can work and try Bootstrap 5, and if necessary, you can just revert back. But that'll keep you from making impacts to your production site. You can use a play site, sign up for a free account, or otherwise set up a Plantain App so that you can work with it, and might not be actually your production, but you can use it to find out and test that Bootstrap 5 is going to work for you. And then, as we've talked before, that you can work off in a hidden corner of your website, a page that's not public, and you can try these techniques without necessarily, without impacting your production system. So those are your best practices that you can employ. And with that, now we can get to the hands-on part, the fun part about this. What we're going to start with is taking a look at some custom pages, and we'll walk through these steps to convert some custom pages that you might have where you have a form, a listing, a tab, or multiples of those things, and you want to convert that to Bootstrap 5, test it out, make sure that everything works as you expect, and then you can either leave it and move on to other pages, or you can revert it. And we're going to talk today then about doing both of those things, migrating it, and then also reverting it. So we'll see that those exact steps that are necessary. So here we go, hands-on. I've chosen to do this on a fun little site that I set up just as a kind of a demonstration application. I don't know if any of you Wordle, if you've seen Wordle before, and if you have, it would be fun. Find the reactions button on your screen and raise your hand. I would just be interested if anybody even knows what this is. But this is a fun puzzle game, and it's a word puzzle game that is done by the New York Times. Okay, so we have a few Wordlers, so that's great. The idea is that you have to type in a 5-letter word. It gives you some hints about what happened, and then there's you get a total of 6 guesses, and you either succeed or fail. And if I decided to build a little site that uses Plantain App because it was just kind of a very simple application that would provide a lot of help if you wanted to cheat. I'm sorry, if you need inspiration for doing this, for figuring this out. So this is my Wordle site, and actually, if you care, I'll put this up. If anybody Wordles and you want to try it out and see if this gives you inspiration in trying to find words for Wordle, you're welcome to give it a try. What this does is it lets you search for the letters. For example, if you have clues of that letters are present in your word, or even if they're in a particular position in your word, you can then search for words that meets that. And I've loaded in, I think, a pretty exhaustive list of 5-letter words in here. All right, all that is not really intended as a promo for Wordle, but more, what I've set up to work with today. So while this is the public one that anybody can use, I set up another custom words, and it has all 3 elements that we need to deal with. A tab, so we have a list and a form. We have a list of words and then a form. And so the very simple functionality is that you can pick any word like a BAMP, and I'm not sure I know that one yet, but you could click edit and it switches to a different page a different tab on the tab. It pre-initializes the form. We've got a back button to go back to the list. It's very simple functionality from the standpoint of Plantain App, and we're really not going to focus on how to build those, but rather what to do with these steps to migrate them. So the first thing, I've listed out the steps. The first thing that we're going to do is we need to pick a Bootstrap 5 theme layout. And so that's on Page Settings, Advanced, Appearance. So if we go to Page Settings, Advanced, Appearance, we can see that the current page theme is Page Builder, but it's the default layout. We've added another one called Default BS5. And again, if you're using Plantain App, this is available to you. You alternately, as I mentioned, you can buy or develop a Bootstrap 5, but this one is included in the package. So we'll save that and refresh our screen. The presence of Bootstrap 5 doesn't particularly impact what we've have here, except that we're starting to see some warnings. As administrator, you'll start to see warnings that says, hey, both Bootstrap 3, Bootstrap 5 are loaded. But I think if we search for something and click the button, it still works. So this is all still, these forms and the tab listing form, all still in Bootstrap 3, but we have Bootstrap 5 present. Our next step is to open everything, and then we're going to flip them to their Bootstrap 5 equivalents. So we've got forms, listings, and tabs, and I'm just going to get them all open here so we can work with them. So I'm going to go into edit mode. And we could use the gear down here, but I like to get them all open and ready to work in. So we have our tab, and I'm going to open that in a new browser tab. We have our listing, same way, and our form, same way. So we've got all these now open to work with, and so we'll follow the recommendations here. On forms, we're going to change the template to Bootstrap 5. Same with tabs. We go to the settings and change the theme to Bootstrap 5. Listings is a little bit more implicit. We go to the views and change it. So let's see where all these things are. First, we'll start with the form. We can see in settings, there's a setting template Bootstrap 3 or Bootstrap 5. So we'll flip it to Bootstrap 5 and save. That's all we have to do. With Tabs Pro, it's the same thing. You go to settings, and down here under UI settings, we have Bootstrap 5, so we can save that. And then on our listings, this is one I said it's a little bit more implied. You go to views, and the views, the legacy view is also the Bootstrap 3 view. So we can just turn that off. It tells us we can't use these new views and legacy at the same time. So we just turn that off, and then we turn on data table, which is the equivalent of the traditional grid view, and save that. Having done all that, we've changed all of the elements on the page. We changed them all at once. And so now I'm going to go and refresh the page, and we'll see what we get. So now all of these are running under Bootstrap 5. And so the listing is the thing that looks most significantly different. It's got the new styling. The filters are available as drop downs, and they're not on top of the column. And again, now I'm just showing off Wordle stuff. But if because we can filter on column on the letter 1 column, we can look for all the words that begin with A and end in E, for example. And so now we can see the filtering brings us right to specific words, and there's still a ton of them. We also want them that has an X anywhere in it. Now we can get to that. So that's for you Wordle people. Okay, so it still works, and if we click the button, we can go to the Exile one, and it opens up in the form, and then we hit the back button. Now this is interesting, and I knew it was going to happen because I was testing this last night when I was getting ready for you guys, but notice that the search got damaged here. When you click the back button, it uses the # construct to say what tab to be on, and for some reason the # is being appended to the search. So we were previously searching for X, and now we're the # list 2 is showing on there. So this is an example of an error, a problem that is not working well yet in our implementation of Bootstrap 5. Now, I will point out that this site is running version 5.19, the experimental version, and this may well be fixed in 5.20, and will likely be fixed before you get a hold of it. But I wanted to be real with you in terms of showing what things you're looking for and why it's so important to test. That in a minute, we'll go back and I'm going to demonstrate how to flip all these back to Bootstrap 3, because you might go through a test and find that it doesn't do what you want. And so now we're going to, you're going to want to revert it. And so that's a true example of the kind of things you might find and why it's so important to test. So where were we? We've done the migrating steps. That's really the main ones. We're going to really all there is to it. That you're going to change the page to a Bootstrap 5, and then you're going to change all of our tools to use the Bootstrap 5 settings and eliminate anything that's calling in Bootstrap 3. Your mileage may vary. Your websites might have other things going on where you're going to have to look for and eliminate the other Bootstrap 3 stuff that's being brought in. But pure plant and app, that this would be the only step. So we've migrated, we've tested, and now it's time to revert. And it's simply reversing all of those things. So the fact that I'm unhappy with the way that filtering works, and I'm going to just show it one more time so that nobody misses it. So we have a word tests, we hit edit, we use the back button, which is just doing a command to flip to the list, and the searching includes this tag. So when we revert, hopefully we'll go back to a normal functionality. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go to each of these tabs and flip back to Bootstrap 3, the form back to Bootstrap 3. Got to remember to hit save here. And then the listing, we have to turn off the data table so you can turn back on the legacy. Again, that's that implicit one. So we save, and then at the page level, we want to go back and no longer load Bootstrap 5. So we go to the advanced appearance and flip it back to the default and save. So keep track of where I am here. So when we refresh, we should go back to the normal listing, the Bootstrap 3 listing that we're familiar with. And now if we test this out and go to our tests word, yes, it works. And when we go back, it doesn't just damage the search. So we have some code that needs to be fixed, and assuming that we'll see it, I'll test to see whether it's fixed in our 1.20. And if it's not, we'll enter a ticket with the development team to get that fixed. But those are the kind of things to be on the lookout for. And as we've discussed separately in our most recent campfire meeting, that best thing to do is if you encounter one of those things, to describe it to us open a ticket on the console and describe it to us, and we'll get on to fixing it. Okay, so we've covered migrating a custom page. So what does it look like to migrate a plant and app page? Well, we've got a switch in there to do that, and then reverting is the same thing. So we'll just work through that scenario here quite quickly. First of all, we're done with these things, so I'll close them down. But yeah. What I'm going to do is to go into our configuration on this same site, and we'll just set up a entity so we can see what that how it looks like. So right now it's optional whether or not you're Bootstrap 3, Bootstrap 5. So this will be we're just going to create a new simple entity. We'll call it people. Doesn't matter because this is only for demonstration purposes. So we're going to leave it as Bootstrap 3. We could go right to Bootstrap 5, but I want to just demonstrate what this is going to look like when we change it. And so we'll have no parent page. It's going to be right at the top of our menu, and we'll have name and city, doesn't matter. A couple of fields here, and we'll pick a primary one. And for the permissions, we're going to just accept the default ones where nobody's going to be able to see this unless they're a user on the system. And so we've got it generate, we'll let it generate some automatic. So behind the scenes, it's generating a listing and a form and some other things for us. And so if we were to go to the person page using this new tab button, we see we have words, custom words, people. And so it's got an old Bootstrap 3 style listing. When we create the form comes when we do like a new, and we can add records, and that's the new style. Excuse me, the old style, Bootstrap 3. So we have a very simple entity. If you look in the entities now, we go back to person and edit it. We have the switch where we can turn it on. Bootstrap 5, experimental, turn it on. And it lets us know, this little warning, that everything's going to be converted to Bootstrap 5 when we save. And it says operation is irreversible, at least in terms of automatically. You cannot reverse it, but it can be reversed just in the same way that, that we did it with the custom pages. So it's not hard to do, it just needs to be done. So we'll say save, override. Now we can see the changes. Save. And
guessing, Dale, if you had a different theme applied to your page, then you'd have some other things to think about. So that will automatically switch your page builder theme to Bootstrap 5. But if you had subsequently applied a different theme to that page, then you'd have to give that consideration, because it will take care of your modules, but not your theme.
Thank you. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And then while we're going on, there was a question from Gramps here that says, what's the best source for Bootstrap 5 compatible themes? I don't know the best source. We have some people in the group that I know are that might have some thoughts on that. And if you do, please let Jeff know. All right, so now I'm going to refresh this. And so now we get this more modern list look. And if we were to click new, and we have still the same functionality. And we can add records, we can edit records, delete records. And then if we were to click in the related, the detail record also has that same, it's been flipped to Bootstrap 5. So pretty straightforward if you want to use the switch to flip it. And then I just wanted to point out, if we go back into this and edit it, notice that it's no longer offered as an option. There isn't a click button to take you back from Bootstrap 5 to Bootstrap 3. You could manually do it. It would involve the same steps that I was talking about earlier. And then once you did that, the switch still doesn't reappear. It's kind of a one-time, once-only conversion to 5. Other than that, you now take responsibility for it. So that is the process of migrating to it. You still have to test. I recommend that I mean, we test extensively with our page builder theme, Bootstrap 5 page builder theme, and the entities that we generate, but you're going to want to test it, especially if you have a different theme. You want to make sure that it works as you need to. And then to revert it, it's the same thing. You need to go to Forms, Listings tabs and flip those back to Bootstrap 3 and change the page to Bootstrap 3 theme. Thank you for the suggestions on the chat. So moving on, that's the kind of the two major directions. It's either you're working with entities or you're working with things that you've done custom. And so since we've gotten through all that and we still have 25 minutes to go. I'm going to take on doing this in a safe but semi-real world environment, and we are going to encounter some more issues. So I'm going to close up Wordle and go to the community clone. This is a clone of our community portal, and so we're on the feature requests section, and so we have we have a form for filtering, we have a listing showing the things that have been suggested, we have top contributors, recent contributors, so 3 different grids, and then there's also a form down here that is the entry form for when you click that you have an add a request, it pops up a form, and so it says what's your idea, and collects some information and saves it. So this is a great example of custom listings and forms that are ready to be converted over. So we'll follow the same steps that we did before. First one is I'm going to get everything open. So we'll like to do this in a new tab. And so that's one form. We've got our other grids or listings. So we've got them all open there so we can get to them real easily. And then I'm going to start by going to the pages and appearance. So we're currently using an Exelon theme with a special layout that we've established, the detail page nav XP layout. And if we need to revert, and we will need to revert, we'll need to come back there. I'm just going to use Page Builder and the default BS5 Bootstrap 5 layout and save that and refresh. So since I haven't, we're going to start to see some oddities here because we have the new, we're using the Page Builder, so that's changed our menu and all around quite a bit. But then we have various things, various warnings. Thanks, Jen. We'll check into that. There's a make a note to our Ben, I think, set that up. But the feature request page on the community, if you're not logged in, it gives you an error. So we'll check into why that might be. Okay, so we just loaded Bootstrap 5, and now we start to see these warnings that both Bootstrap 3 and Bootstrap 5 are on the page. That's because we haven't converted anything else. And then otherwise, it looks pretty good. So if we were to go to our filter form and change the settings from 3 to 5 and save, and I'm just going to do 1. I'm not going to convert everything, just to kind of show you what things you'll encounter. So when we refresh the page, this filter is now in Bootstrap 5, but we're getting that it failed to initialize. And this is the kind of message that you're going to see if you have multiple forms on the page and you haven't converted both of them. So if we go to our new request form and change that one to 5 as well, I think we'll see that the filter is going to now start to work. Yes. So that's kind of one of those gotchas that if you have multiple forms, you can't have one running 3 and one running 5. It's just not going to work. And then it's still warning us that we're 3 and 5 on the page because these things haven't been converted yet. So let's do our grids. So that happens on our views, turn off legacy, turn on data table, repeat for these other ones. So now we can try and refresh again and see what we get. So the filter is visible. We see results visible. Our contributors are there. And the formatting has changed a little bit, so that might be something that you're going to want to look at. If we add a request, we get this interesting message. If you see this message, no control name Trumbowig or whatever happens, it'll be a different name perhaps there for you. But this gets back to the part where we're experimental or halfway done. At version 1.19, we had a lot of work done, but Trumbowig hadn't been migrated yet. So it doesn't exist as a Bootstrap 5 control, and so it throws this message. If you want to power through, one of the answers is to go to that form. This was on the new request form where this is happening. And we have this Trumbowig field. And so you could pick out potentially a different field type for it. And so, for example, we could pick the CK editor and see what happens. Well, I worked my way through this last night and I found exactly the same thing. So I'm going to refresh, say add request, and oh, no control named open DNN editor was found. We hadn't gotten around to that one yet. So this is, again, at 5.19, this is the kind of thing that you might run into, things that are not done yet. We still want to power on through. We can change this CK editor to a simple rich text obsolete. This is the Bootstrap 3 version that is going away, but we can still pick it. And so having done that and refresh, now when we load this, the form comes up and we have this older editor that would work for our purposes. So that's just kind of an example of another error that you're likely to encounter when you're using the 1.19 version. Our goal when we release 1.20 is that all of our controls will be migrated and that you won't see that. But then there's the interactions. Does it all work correctly? And again, I'm on the 1.19 version, and let's see if these actually work correctly. Now to the spot I don't remember. Yep, it filtered correctly as we expected it to. So this would be the place where you would try to test out all of the different things. I'm going to remove my search here and get everything back. And then I'm going to try sort by votes. That was a feature that got added, and it does sort by votes. So that's working. We've got our top contributors. Search for that. Let's see. That doesn't seem to be activating, so that's interesting. So these are just the kind of things you're going to want to go through and test your entire form, see if you're still getting the activity that you want. And if you're not, you can revert it. So in the same way that we did before, we can turn all these things back. Or if it's a play site, you can just obviously blow it away. So I'm going to put it all the way back just to demonstrate. So this goes back to a Trumbowig. And I'm sure Patrick is wanting to tell me, oh, it's not even available here, right? So we can't, oh yeah, there it is. It's on the list. But I'm sure Patrick is wanting to tell me that the initial value, when you change field types, there's some things that you're going to want to double check. It's not just as easy as changing them, right? You were cringing, right?
No.
All right, so we'll do back to Bootstrap 3, and then these other ones, same way. We'll turn them back to legacy. And lastly, we'll change the page type back. On this one. Let's see if I did it right. So it's not as scary as you'd think, but and we'll still try this, and we've got our Trumbowig editor back, and it's all good. So It's not as scary as you think, but for those of you with existing applications, it's just it's just going to be very important to test. Just again, going back to the part that we had to touch everything, and I know some of you are encountering some of these things already. Okay, so that is as much as I've prepared. There's opportunity to ask questions, and Patrick will be happy to answer them. So we'll leave that thought open for just a minute, and then nobody has any, we'll close. Maybe we can do the Wordle. Maybe we can get a few more converts.
So I think we talked about this on last week's call, but I just wanted to mention it again about the idea of if you're and it's not common that you would have a theme that doesn't load Bootstrap, but what if Bootstrap 5 is not being loaded by the theme?
Yeah. So
did we want to take another look at that, or?
I think it would be good. So the scenario is it's not being loaded at all, and so let's see. I had if you put let's see. Do you if you have that one? If you have that scenario up, it'd be great to show again. And if you don't, we can refer people back to last week's episode.
Yeah, but we can. I don't have it up, but basically, if your theme doesn't have Bootstrap 5 loaded at all, and your modules are asking for it, the module will put a message up giving you a link to the very page where you can get the code to from getbootstrap.com, and it'll give you the code there that you can then put into either your page settings or directly into your theme to pull Bootstrap in.
If we were to add a page here, we might be able to demonstrate this. No particular permissions, but with I'm going to pick Exelon. This probably has, I think this is, yeah, okay, we'll call it test 2 just to keep ourselves out of trouble. I think we can demonstrate at least that the message comes up. So we have a page test 2. If we were to add a action form that calls for Bootstrap 5 and it's not there, I think we're going to see the message that's in question. So we'll do a blank form, set it to Bootstrap 5, and we'll add just a text field here. And maybe a button just so that we have something. So we save that and go back. And this is the message that you'll see, that because this form is calling for Bootstrap 5 and Bootstrap 5 is not here, you're going to see this message as an administrator.
Yes, as an administrator, correct.
If we close out of that, yeah, no, still do because you're administrator. So it's going to give you ample warning, but the likelihood is it's not going to run right.
And that read more link there takes you to getbootstrap.com, so you can get the correct code for adding into your theme, or alternately you could add it into your page settings as well, or as an option, I should say, not both.
And that's that actual technique Patrick demonstrated last week. There's a nice link to that on episode number 83 of the Low Code Cafe. So I'm going to not try and do that one live. Let's see, we have Mark asks a question. If you added the code to load Bootstrap 5 to the form instead of the theme, then it would not add weight to other pages in the site, and the form will bring it with it if it's copied to another page. So that's an interesting note, less of a question. It sounds right, Mark. as an option. So I will, that one is done. And Jim asks, would adding Bootstrap 5 to an existing theme or settings be another migration strategy? The part of that answer is that we would expect there's going to be, if you have a Bootstrap 3 and you add Bootstrap 5, when both of them exist on the page, there could be conflicts. So you probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick, but I think you're going to want to load, get your page to be one or the other. True?
Yes. Yep. I don't think you want to have both loading on there.
You're probably going to, it may not work. It may appear to work, and it may work in your circumstance, but you could run into unspecified, unexpected things with conflicts between them. And yeah, good. All right. Then with that, I will say, I hope that that gives you the tools that you need when we go to Bootstrap, when 1.20 comes out and Bootstrap 5 is fully available, and the default for new entities that you create, you will be able to use Bootstrap 3 for the immediate future, and we'll get a better definition on what that is. This is going to be a multiple months long process to be able to hold Bootstrap 3 available, because we're all going to need to convert. But at some point, I would expect that Bootstrap 3 will be history. So just bear that in mind. And if there are no more questions, I'm going to find our nice happy low coding, and we'll give you back 7 minutes on your day. Thank you for coming to the Low Code Cafe. Don't forget Low Code Campfire on Friday, 10 Central, and we will see you next week.